Okay, so this is the question from IPM Indore 2023. It says, in a chess tournament, there are 4 groups, each containing an equal number of players. So we can assume the 4 groups are A, B, C, D, and the number of players in each group to be N. So the groups are A, B, C, D, and we have N players in each group. Fine. So let's move ahead. Each player plays. So now this sentence is completed in 4 different ways. Each player plays. The first line says against every other player belonging to one's own group exactly once. So now what does this mean? N players in group A. So out of those N players, everybody plays with every other player of his group. So for an example, if N is 5. So if there are 5 players in group A, so these 5 players will play a match with each other exactly once. So if there are 5 players and everybody plays a match with each other exactly once, so how many matches will be played between them? That is what we need to find, right? So first line says that every player of a group plays with every other player of the same group. So if we have assumed N is 5, just for example, so if there are 5 players in the group, how many matches will be played among those 5 players? So there are 2 ways to do this. We can say if there are 5 players for a match, we will need 2 players. Right? So if we need 2 players, so using combination, I can pick these 2 players out of these 5 in 5C2 ways. Number of ways of picking 2 players out of 5 is 5C2. Right? So this is a different number of ways in which we can pick any 2 players. So those 2 players can be X and Y, Y and Z, Z and W, right? So those 2 players can be in any combination and they will play a match. So जितने different combinations हम pick कर सकते हैं, we will get those many number of matches. So it will be 5C2 matches also. 5C2 matches. So if there are 5 players, it will be 5C2 matches. So if there are N players, it will be NC2 matches. So this was one way to understand this. There is another way to understand the same thing. If there are 5 players, 1, 2, 3, or we can say these 5 players are P, Q, R, S, and T. P plays with every other 4 matches. Then Q plays with remaining 3 matches. Then R plays with every other 2 matches and then 1 match. So total number of matches will be 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. That will be 10. 5C2 will also give us 10. Right? So that's how we can get the number of matches. So if we get back to the original question, there are N players in every group. So these N players will play number of matches. So the number of matches will be NC2 in every group. Right? So this will be the number of matches for every group. Now let us come to the second line of the question. Second line says, we will start from here only, each player plays, and then come to the second line, against each player belonging to one of the remaining 3 groups exactly twice. So each player of group A will play with each player of, let us say, group B. And then each player of group C will play with each player of group D. And they will play exactly twice. That's what it says. Fine. So group A and group B player will play each other exactly twice. Group C and group D players, they will play each other exactly twice. Fine. So number of matches. How many matches will be played? A and B, there are n players in A and n players in B. So I will pick one player from A and one player from B. So NC1 and NC1. In these many ways, I can pick a player from each group, right? That means this will be the number of matches when they play exactly once. And because they are playing twice, so we will multiply this number with 2 also. So that's how this will be the number of matches played between the players of group A and B. And same will be for the players of group C and D. So that will be NC1 into NC1 into 2. So this will be the number of matches played between the players of group A and B and players of group C and D. So then we come to the next line of the question, which says, we'll again start from here. Each player plays against each player belonging to one of the remaining two groups exactly 3 times. Fine. So players of A have already played with players of B. So players of A can now play with players of C. And what is the condition? They will play exactly 3 times. So how many matches will be played between A and C? So A and C will play and B and D will also play each other. Right? So D has already played with C. So D will go play with B. A will go play with C. So number of matches in this scenario. Again, it will be NC1 into NC1. We will pick one player from A and one player from C. So that will happen in NC1 into NC1 ways. And because every player plays 3 matches against each other, so that is why we will multiply this number with 3. And same thing will happen in case of B and D, NC1, NC1 into 3. So that's how we have used the third information, third line. And then we come to the next line, the last line of the question. Each player plays against each player of belonging to the remaining group. So A has played with B, A has played with C also. So A and D, these two groups have not come together yet. So A will go play with D, and similarly B and C, they will also play. Group B and C. Fine. So we will pick one player from group A and one player from group B and C1 and C1. And they will play 4 matches against each other. So we will multiply NC1 into NC1 with 4. And same thing will happen in this case, NC1 and C1 into 4. So that is the total number of matches in every scenario. In first set, it was NC2 matches played among the players of one single group. So it was 4 times NC2. Then in second case, it was 2 times C1 and 2 times NC1. Sorry, NC1 into 2, NC1 into 2. Now NC1 is N, NC1 is N. So I can simply write this with as N into N. And then this is 2. Again, this is N into N. And this is 2. So this is 2n square. This is also 2n square. So total it is 4n square. Here it will be n into n again. N into n again. So 3n square, 3n square. So it will be a total of 6n square. And then again, it will be a total of 8n square. So number of matches total that are played is 4 times NC2, 4n square, 6n square, 8n square. So it is a total of 18n square plus 4 times NC2. So that will be a total of how many matches? Now the last line of the question says, if there are more than 1,000 matches being played in the tournament, so what is the minimum value of the number of players in each group? So we want the minimum possible value of n. So this number has to be more than or equal to 1,000, more than or equal to 1,000. The number of matches are more than 1,000. Fine. So 18n square plus 4nc2. So 4nc2 will be n minus 1 by 2. That should be more than or equal to 1000. We can cancel. So that will be 9n square plus n into n minus 1. That should be more than or equal to 500. So now we just need to solve this quadratic equation to get the minimum possible value for n. So we have 9n square plus n square minus n minus 500. That should be more than or equal to 0. So 10n square minus n minus 500. That should be more than or equal to 0. 10n square. Now, if we get into solving the exact quadratic equation, then we may not get the splitting of the middle term in this case. So what we can do is we can simply try and replace some values of n here, right? So if we make some trials and errors, because the number has to be an integer, number cannot be a fraction because it is a number of players, which must be an integer. So we can try some numbers. We can start with 5 and equal to 5. So 5 square is 25. 25 into 9 is 225. So, and then this will be 5 into 4. So this cannot exceed 500. So we will have to increase our number. Let us say 10. So 10 square is 100, 100 into 9 is 900. So it will be much more. We need the minimum possible value. So we need such a value at which this left hand side is slightly more than 500. So at n equal to 10, it will be much more. So we will have to go between 5 and 10. So let us try with 8. So if I put 8, so that will be 9 times 8 square plus 8 times 7. So 8 square is 64, 64 into 9, that will be 586, 576, and 8 into 6, so 56. So this is more than 500, of course, but let us check with n equal to 7 also, if that is also more than 500. So if I put n equal to 7, so 7 square into 9, 49 into 9. So that will be 441 plus 7 into 6 is 42. So this will be less than 500. So that will not be the case. So n equal to 8 is the minimum possible value at which the left hand side is slightly more than 500. Hence n equal to 8 will be the answer.